Story number 1. Shadows of El Dorado. I've always been drawn to the mysteries that the world hides, the legends that refuse to fade into obscurity. So when I discovered the accounts of the 19th century expedition searching for El Dorado in the heart of the Amazon, my curiosity was piqued. As a historian with a penchant for uncovering forgotten tales, I knew I had to delve deeper into the shadows of this lost expedition. Little did I know, the quest to unearth the truth would lead me into a nightmare that blurred the lines between history and horror. The journey began in Manaus, the bustling gateway to the Amazon, where the air was thick with humidity and the scent of blooming orchids. I met with Dr. Helena Moreau, a seasoned archaeologist who had dedicated her life to unraveling the secrets of El Dorado. Her eyes held a mix of determination and fear, a reflection of the countless nights she had spent poring over dusty manuscripts and faded maps. "The stories are chilling," Helena said, her voice barely above a whisper. Those men ventured into the depths of the jungle, driven by greed and the promise of unimaginable wealth. But what they encountered was beyond their comprehension. We spent days in the local archives, sifting through old journals, expedition logs, and newspaper clippings. The accounts were consistent. An expedition team of 12, led by the ambitious Captain Alejandro Rivera, set out with high hopes. Weeks turned into months, and communication from the team ceased. It wasn't until years later that a few survivors emerged, their tales filled with horror and desperation. They spoke of shadows moving at the edge of their vision, one survivor recounted, his voice trembling. At night, we heard screams and laughter echoing through the trees. It felt like we were being watched, hunted by something unseen. Determined to uncover the truth, Helena and I decided to retrace the steps of Rivera's expedition. Armed with maps, modern equipment, and a relentless drive for answers, we ventured into the uncharted territories of the Amazon. The deeper we went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became, the jungle closing in around us like a living entity. After days of trekking through dense foliage and navigating treacherous riverbeds, we reached the remnants of the expedition's camp. The site was eerily preserved, as if time itself had forgotten it. Tents stood abandoned, personal belongings scattered, and the remnants of a hastily abandoned feast lay untouched. The air was heavy with the scent of decay and something else, something metallic and foreboding. As night fell, the jungle transformed. The sounds of nocturnal creatures filled the air, but beneath them lay an unsettling silence, punctuated by distant, haunting echoes. Helena and I set up our base camp near the old site, our tent barely a barrier against the encroaching darkness. The sky above was a tapestry of stars, obscured only by the dense canopy of trees. Around midnight, the whispers began. At first, they were faint, a soft rustling of leaves, the distant call of an owl. But gradually, they grew louder, morphing into indistinct voices that seemed to float through the air. "Remember us, remember our stories." I sat alone in the tent, flashlight in hand, trying to make sense of the sounds. Helena was already asleep, her exhaustion palpable. The whispers continued, growing more insistent, their tones shifting from sorrow to anger. Shadows danced at the edge of my vision, elusive figures that vanished when I turned to look. My heart raced as a chill settled over me, the temperature dropping despite the tropical night. A loud crash echoed through the jungle, followed by piercing screams that sent shivers down my spine. I grabbed my camera and stepped outside, the flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The camp was quiet, but the oppressive feeling of being watched remained. I scanned the area, eyes darting from shadow to shadow, but saw nothing, only the thick, impenetrable darkness of the Amazon night. Unable to sleep, I decided to explore the surrounding area, hoping to find some clue about the expedition's fate. Helena warned me against it, but the need for answers outweighed my fear. Armed with only a flashlight and my notebook, I ventured into the dense forest, the whispers growing louder with each step. As I walked deeper into the jungle, the vegetation became denser, the path obscured by tangled vines and fallen leaves. The air was thick with moisture, my clothes sticking to my skin as I pushed forward. The whispers now formed clear phrases, pleas for help, cries of pain, and mournful laments that echoed through the trees. Suddenly, a flash of movement caught my eye. I turned to see a shadowy figure standing between two ancient trees, its form indistinct and shifting like smoke. My breath caught in my throat as the figure raised a hand, pointing towards a narrow clearing ahead. Summoning my courage, I followed the direction, the whispers intensifying into a cacophony of voices surrounding me. The clearing opened into a natural amphitheater, the moonlight filtering through gaps in the canopy and casting ethereal patterns on the ground. In the center stood a stone altar, covered in moss and ancient carvings that depicted scenes of sacrifice and reverence. Surrounding the altar were skeletal remains, their bones arranged in intricate patterns that told a story of ritual and mourning. I approached the altar, the whispers now a single, unified voice. Remember us, honor our memories, let our stories be told. A cold wind swept through the clearing, carrying with it the faint scent of burning wood and the metallic tang of blood. The shadows began to converge, forming ghostly apparitions of the lost explorers. Their eyes hollow, faces contorted with fear and sorrow, they reached out towards me, their hands passing through my form like mist. We were forgotten, one of them whispered, his voice echoing in my mind. Our lives lost to greed and the jungle's wrath. Remember us, so our stories do not fade into oblivion. Tears welled in my eyes as I realized the depth of their anguish. These spirits were trapped, unable to find peace until their stories were acknowledged and remembered. I promise, I vowed, my voice barely above a whisper. I will remember your stories and share them with the world. The apparitions nodded, their forms beginning to dissolve into the night air. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by a sense of calm and fulfillment. The whispers faded, leaving behind a tranquil silence that filled the clearing. I returned to the camp at dawn, exhausted but resolute. Helena was waiting, her expression one of concern mixed with awe. "Did you find anything?" she asked. I nodded, handing her my notebook. They want their stories to be remembered. They don't want to be forgotten. Together, we compiled our findings, blending the historical accounts with our personal experiences. The story of the Anjikuni expedition became a testament to the importance of remembrance and the enduring power of memory. It was a reminder that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, but rather honored, their echoes lingering in the shadows of history. Months later, our report, titled Whispers of El Dorado, was published, shedding light on the tragic fate of the lost explorers and the supernatural phenomena that still haunted the Amazon. Readers were moved by the raw emotion and the meticulous documentation, many expressing a newfound respect for the forgotten souls of El Dorado. The story not only captivated audiences, but also sparked conversations about the balance between human ambition and the unforgiving forces of nature. The Amazon expedition remains a haunting chapter in the annals of exploration, its legacy intertwined with the whispers of those who once sought the elusive city of gold. Whenever I reflect on that journey, I'm reminded of the thin line between life and death and the profound impact of empathy and remembrance. The spirits of the lost explorers continue to whisper their stories, a haunting reminder that some echoes, no matter how faint, are powerful enough to transcend the boundaries of time and space. In the end, my quest to uncover the truth behind the Anjikuni expedition was more than just an academic pursuit. It was a journey of understanding and compassion, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and a reminder that some places hold memories too powerful to be forgotten. By giving these lost souls a voice, I not only honored their memories, but also found a deeper connection to my own humanity, ensuring that their suffering was never in vain. Whenever I sit down to write, I think back to those silent nights in the Amazon, the whispers of the past guiding my pen, reminding me that some stories are worth telling, no matter how haunting they may be. Story number 2. Whispers of Halong. I've always been captivated by the mysteries that lie hidden beneath the surface, the secrets that nature guards fiercely. So when the opportunity arose to join an expedition deep into the unexplored caves of Halong Bay in the early 2000s, I couldn't resist. As a freelance writer with a penchant for uncovering the unknown, the chance to explore these untouched realms promised not only adventure but also stories that could captivate readers yearning for the eerie and unexplained. Our team consisted of 6 members, seasoned cavers, a local guide named Min, a geologist, a photographer, and myself, tasked with documenting every step of our journey. The boat ride to our base camp was serene, the limestone karsts rising majestically from the emerald waters, casting long shadows as the sun began to set. The air was thick with humidity, carrying the scent of saltwater and the earthy aroma of the dense forest that surrounded us. After setting up camp, we gathered around a makeshift table, poring over maps and discussing our planned routes. Min, a wiry man with sharp eyes and a wealth of knowledge about how long subterranean wonders, shared tales of the caves that had never been mapped, of passages that seemed to twist and turn in impossible ways. His stories were both fascinating and unsettling, hinting at phenomena that defied rational explanation. The next morning, armed with helmets, headlamps, and backpacks filled with essentials, we set out to conquer the first cave on our list. The entrance was unassuming, a narrow crevice barely visible amidst the towering cliffs. As we squeezed through, the light from above faded, replaced by an eerie darkness that seemed to swallow us whole. The sound of dripping water echoed through the narrow passage, each drop reverberating like a distant drumbeat. As we ventured deeper, the cave opened into a vast chamber, its walls shimmering with mineral deposits that caught the light from our headlamps, creating a surreal, almost otherworldly glow. Stalactites hung like ancient chandeliers, and the floor was slick with moisture, making every step a calculated risk. We moved cautiously, our breaths visible in the cool, damp air. Hours passed as we navigated the labyrinthine tunnels, discovering chambers filled with intricate rock formations and underground streams that mirrored the beauty of the world above. It was during one of these explorations that we first noticed the strange phenomena. Subtle at first, faint echoes that didn't match our movements, shadows that danced just beyond the edge of our vision. Men dismissed them as tricks of the light and the mind, but an uneasy feeling settled over me. That night, as we set up our sleeping bags in a sheltered alcove, the atmosphere grew tense. The usual sounds of the cave, the dripping water, the distant scurrying of bats, seemed muted, replaced by an oppressive silence that weighed heavily on our minds. I sat alone, scribbling notes by the light of my headlamp, when I heard it, a soft, almost imperceptible whisper that seemed to come from the very walls around me. "Remember us." I froze, my pen hovering over the paper. The whisper was followed by another, slightly louder. "Remember our stories." Heart-pounding, I glanced around, but men and the others were sound asleep, their faces etched with exhaustion. I tried to rationalize it, telling myself it was just the wind or my imagination, but the whispers persisted, growing in intensity. The next day, our unease deepened as more strange occurrences unfolded. Equipment malfunctioned without reason, navigation tools led us astray, and the whispers became a constant presence, echoing through the tunnels with a haunting persistence. It was during a particularly tense moment that tragedy struck. Nguyen, our geologist, disappeared without a trace. One moment he was beside me, examining a particularly beautiful stalactite, and the next, he was gone, swallowed by the darkness as if he had never existed. Panic erupted among the team as we searched frantically, our calls echoing through the empty chambers. Hours turned into days without any sign of Nguyen, and the once beautiful caves now felt like a labyrinth of despair. It was during these desperate searches that the whispers became more sinister, their pleas now tinged with fear and anger. One night, driven by a mix of fear and determination, I decided to venture alone deeper into the cave, hoping to find some clue about Nguyen's disappearance. Equipped with only a headlamp and my journal, I navigated the twisting passages, the whispers guiding me like a spectral beacon. The air grew colder, the darkness more oppressive, until I reached a chamber unlike any we had encountered before. The room was vast, with a high ceiling that seemed to disappear into the shadows above. In the center stood an altar-like structure, its surface etched with ancient symbols that glowed faintly in the darkness. Surrounding the altar were skeletal remains, their bones arranged in a macabre display that told a story of agony and loss. It was here that I felt the full weight of the spirit's presence, their sorrow palpable in the air. As I approached the altar, the whispers crescendoed into a cacophony of voices, their pleas now a desperate chorus. "Remember us, remember our suffering, remember our names." The temperature plummeted, my breath visible in the freezing air as I stood before the altar, the remnants of lost souls surrounding me. Suddenly, a shadow moved swiftly across the chamber, a dark figure that materialized before me. It was Nguyen, his face contorted with fear, his eyes hollow and pleading. "Help us," he whispered, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Remember our stories, so we can find peace." Tears welled in my eyes as I reached out to him, but my hand passed through him as if he were made of mist. The shadows around us seemed to close in, their whispers turning into anguished cries that filled the room with an overwhelming sense of despair. I realized that these spirits were trapped, unable to move on from their tragic fate, their stories lost to time and memory. Determined to honor their memories, I vowed to document everything: the whispers, the apparitions, the sorrow that permeated the cave. I spent the following days meticulously recording every detail, every haunting encounter, ensuring that the stories of those who had been lost would not fade into oblivion. When I finally emerged from the cave, exhausted and emotionally drained, I knew that our expedition had been more than just a search for adventure. It had been a journey into the depths of human suffering and the supernatural, a testament to the enduring power of memory and empathy. The loss of Gwen weighed heavily on me, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the mysteries that lie beyond our understanding. Back in the safety of our base camp, I compiled my findings into a comprehensive report, blending scientific observations with the haunting accounts of our experiences. The story of the Ha-Long expedition spread quickly, capturing the imagination of those fascinated by the unexplained and the macabre. Readers were moved by the raw emotion and the meticulous documentation, many expressing a newfound respect for the forgotten souls of the caves. In the years that followed, the expedition story became a cautionary tale about the dangers of obsession and the importance of remembering those who have been lost to time. The Ha-Long caves remained a place of both beauty and terror, their depths holding secrets that continue to elude understanding. Whenever I think back to those nights in the darkness, the whispers of the past guide my pen, reminding me that some stories are worth telling, no matter how haunting they may be. In the end, the Ha-Long expedition was more than just an exploration of the unknown. It was a voyage of empathy and understanding, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and a reminder that some places hold memories too powerful to be forgotten. By giving these lost souls a voice, I not only honored their memories, but also found a deeper connection to my own humanity, ensuring that their suffering was never in vain. Whenever I sit down to write, I think back to those silent nights in the Ha-Long caves, the whispers of the past guiding my pen, reminding me that some stories are worth telling, no matter how dark they may be. Story number 3. Echoes of Anjikuni. I've always been drawn to the unexplained, the mysteries that linger in the shadows of history. So when I came across the story of the Anjikuni expedition, my curiosity ignited like a spark in dry tinder. The tale of an entire Inuit village vanishing without a trace in 1930 was both baffling and haunting, a perfect subject for my next deep dive investigation. Little did I know, my quest to uncover the truth would lead me into a nightmare that blurred the lines between reality and the supernatural. It was a brisk autumn morning when I arrived in the remote region of northern Canada, the air crisp with the scent of pine and the promise of untold secrets. The small research station near Anjikuni was a stark contrast to the bustling cities I was accustomed to, isolated amidst vast expanses of snow-covered wilderness. The locals, hardy and reserved, eyed me with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. They spoke little of the missing village, their gazes often drifting toward the distant, snow-laden mountains that framed the horizon. My guide, Tom Bennett, a seasoned explorer with a weathered face and eyes that seemed to hold centuries of stories, greeted me with a firm handshake. "Welcome to Anjikuni," he said, his voice gravelly from years of battling the harsh Arctic elements. "You're here to find answers, but be prepared, the truth isn't always what you expect." We set out early the next morning, our sled dogs eager to traverse the pristine, untouched landscape. The journey was arduous, the cold biting through layers of clothing, each step a testament to our determination. As we approached the site where the village once stood, an eerie silence enveloped us, the usual sounds of wildlife conspicuously absent. There, amidst the desolate expanse, lay the remnants of what was once a thriving community. Abandoned houses, their wooden frames battered by relentless winds, stood frozen in time. Inside, belongings were untouched, food still stored in pantries, clothes neatly folded, personal items left behind as if their owners had simply vanished into thin air. My heart pounded with a mix of fear and fascination, the mystery of their disappearance clawing at my mind. As night fell, we set up camp near the outskirts of the abandoned village. The sky was a canvas of stars, the Milky Way stretching across the heavens in a dazzling display. But the beauty of the night was marred by an overwhelming sense of unease. The temperature plummeted, and a thick blanket of fog rolled in, swallowing the landscape in its ghostly embrace. Around midnight, the silence was shattered by faint whispers, like voices carried on the wind. I strained to listen, my breath visible in the frigid air. "Remember us," the whispers seemed to say, their tone filled with sorrow and longing. I glanced at Tom, whose expression mirrored my own fear. "You hear that?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. He nodded, his eyes scanning the darkness. Legends say the spirits of Anjikuni's residents still linger, unable to move on from the tragedy that befell them. Maybe the disappearance wasn't just a simple case of abandonment. Determined to uncover the truth, we ventured deeper into the village the next day. The sun was a pale disk in the sky, its weak light barely penetrating the thick fog. As we explored the abandoned homes, we discovered more unsettling signs, strange symbols etched into the walls, inexplicable scorch marks, and areas where the snow seemed unnaturally disturbed, as if something had moved through the village in a hurry. In one house, we found a journal belonging to the village leader, detailing the growing tensions and inexplicable events leading up to the disappearance. The entries spoke of strange lights in the sky, eerie sounds emanating from the mountains, and an overwhelming sense of dread that had gripped the community. The final entry was a frantic plea for help, the ink smeared as if written in haste or fear. That night, as we sat by the fire, the whispers returned, louder and more insistent. Shadows danced along the walls, taking on the forms of the missing villagers. I felt a cold hand brush against my shoulder, sending shivers down my spine. "Why can't you move on?" a voice echoed, filled with anguish. "Help us remember." Panic surged through me as I realized the magnitude of what we were dealing with. These weren't just lost souls, they were trapped, their memories and lives frozen in time, yearning for recognition and closure. The realization was both terrifying and heartbreaking. How could we honor their memories if their stories were shrouded in such mystery? Determined to provide them with the remembrance they sought, I delved deeper into the history of Anjikuni, piecing together fragmented accounts and oral histories. Theories ranged from supernatural phenomena to secret government experiments, each one more outlandish than the last. But the truth remained elusive, hidden beneath layers of time and fear. One evening, as a fierce storm raged outside, the whispers grew into anguished cries, the voices now a cacophony of desperation. The wind howled through the empty streets, and lightning illuminated the ghostly apparitions that materialized around us. Tom and I stood back to back, trying to shield ourselves from the onslaught of spectral energy. "Remember us," the voices demanded, their collective sorrow filling the air. "Tell our stories, let us be remembered." In that moment, I realized that the spirits weren't malevolent, they were victims, their suffering and untimely deaths leaving them trapped in a liminal space between life and death. With renewed purpose, I began documenting everything, the whispers, the apparitions, the profound sadness that permeated the air. Each entry in my notebook was a tribute to their existence, a promise to ensure their stories would never be forgotten. As the storm subsided, a sense of calm washed over the village. The whispers faded into silence, and the apparitions slowly dissolved into the morning mist. It was as if the spirits had found solace in being acknowledged, their lingering presence a testament to the importance of memory and empathy. Returning to the research station, I compiled my findings into a comprehensive report, blending historical accounts with my personal experiences. The story of Anjikuni became more than just a historical mystery, it was a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of remembrance. Months later, my report, titled Echoes of Anjikuni, was published, shedding light on the tragic fate of the missing village and the haunting presence that still lingered. Readers were moved by the raw emotion and the meticulous documentation, many expressing a newfound respect for the forgotten souls of Anjikuni. The report not only captivated audiences, but also sparked conversations about the importance of honoring those who had been lost to time. The story of Anjikuni remains a haunting chapter in the annals of unexplained disappearances, its legacy intertwined with the whispers of those who once called it home. Whenever I think back to those silent nights in the Arctic, I'm reminded of the thin veil that separates the living from the dead, and the profound impact of empathy and memory. In the end, my journey to Anjikuni was more than just an investigation, it was a voyage of understanding and compassion, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and a reminder that some places hold memories too powerful to be forgotten. By giving these lost souls a voice, I not only honored their memories, but also found a deeper connection to my own humanity, ensuring that their suffering was never in vain. Whenever I sit down to write, I think back to those haunted nights in the frozen wilderness, the whispers of the past guiding my pen, reminding me that some stories are worth telling, no matter how dark they may be. Story number 4. Whispers in the Catacombs. I've always been fascinated by the macabre, the eerie allure of places where the veil between the living and the dead seems impossibly thin. So when I heard about the recent disappearance of a group of explorers in the Paris catacombs, my curiosity morphed into an obsession. The catacombs, with their labyrinthine tunnels and walls lined with the bones of over 6 million souls, have long been a source of fascination and fear. Legends speak of restless spirits and unexplained phenomena, but nothing could prepare me for the darkness that awaited. It was a chilly October evening when I decided to embark on my own exploration. Armed with a high-powered flashlight, a sturdy camera, and an old map I'd painstakingly researched, I descended into the depths beneath the City of Light. The entrance was unassuming, a nondescript metal gate tucked away in a narrow alley. As I pushed it open, a rush of cold, damp air greeted me, carrying the faint scent of decay and the metallic tang of old bones. The narrow passageway was dimly lit by sporadic, flickering lights overhead, casting long shadows that danced along the walls. My footsteps echoed unnaturally loud in the confined space, each step a reminder of the silence that enveloped me. I consulted the map, noting the sections where the missing explorers had last been seen. My heart pounded with a mix of excitement and apprehension as I ventured deeper into the subterranean maze. The walls here were adorned with neatly arranged bones, skulls, and femurs, meticulously stacked in macabre patterns. The artistry was both haunting and mesmerizing, a testament to the catacombs' grim history. As I navigated the twisting corridors, the temperature seemed to drop, my breath visible in the cold air. The further I went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became, as if the walls themselves were closing in, suffocating me with their silent presence. About an hour into my exploration, I reached a junction marked on the map as the Echo Chamber. According to the reports, this was the last known location of the missing explorers. As I entered the chamber, the flickering light steadied, illuminating a vast, open space. The air was thick with an unsettling stillness, broken only by the distant drip of water echoing through the tunnels. I set up my camera, hoping to capture any signs of the lost group or, perhaps, something more sinister. Suddenly, a chill ran down my spine as I heard it, a faint, desperate whispering that seemed to emanate from the very walls. I froze, my flashlight beam darting around the chamber, searching for the source of the sound. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, forming indistinct words that sent shivers through my entire body. "Help us! Remember us!" My mind raced with rational explanations, maybe the wind through the cracks, the acoustics of the chamber, but the intensity of the voices felt too personal, too anguished to be mere figments of my imagination. I decided to press forward, deeper into the chamber, following the whispers like a siren's call. As I moved towards the center of the room, the whispers coalesced into a single, coherent plea. "Remember us, tell our stories," the words hung in the air, heavy with sorrow and longing. My heart ached with empathy, and I felt an overwhelming urge to honor their memories. I began speaking softly, recounting the legends of the catacombs, the explorers who had vanished without a trace, and the countless souls who now rested within these stone walls. As I spoke, the atmosphere shifted. The oppressive cold lifted slightly, replaced by a warm, ethereal glow that bathed the chamber in a soft light. The bones on the walls seemed to shimmer, their presence less menacing and more sorrowful. The whispers transformed into gentle murmurs of gratitude, swirling around me like a comforting embrace. I realized that these spirits were reaching out, seeking recognition and remembrance after centuries of isolation. Driven by a newfound purpose, I began documenting everything: the whispers, the shifting lights, the palpable presence of the spirits. My camera captured fleeting images of shadowy figures standing in the corners of the chamber, their faces etched with pain and longing. I felt a deep connection to these lost souls, a responsibility to ensure their stories were not forgotten. Hours passed in this tranquil state, the chamber becoming a sanctuary for the forgotten. As dawn approached, the glow faded, and the whispers softened, leaving behind a serene silence. I knew it was time to leave, to carry the stories of the catacombs back to the world above. With a heavy heart, I made my way back through the winding tunnels, the map guiding me towards the exit. Emerging into the early morning light, I felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The catacombs, once a place of fear and mystery, had become a bridge between the living and the dead, a testament to the enduring power of memory and empathy. The missing explorers had found solace in my acknowledgement, their whispers a reminder that no story, no matter how dark, should be forgotten. In the days that followed, I compiled my notes and footage into a comprehensive documentary titled Whispers in the Catacombs. The film captured the haunting beauty of the underground mausoleum, the ethereal presence of the spirits, and the tragic stories of those who had vanished within its depths. Upon its release, the documentary received widespread acclaim, touching the hearts of viewers who were moved by the raw emotion and the meticulous research. The success of Whispers in the Catacombs sparked renewed interest in the Paris catacombs, drawing attention to the importance of preserving and honoring history's forgotten chapters. It also served as a reminder of the thin line between life and death, and the enduring connection between the past and the present. I continued to explore other haunted locations, each journey reinforcing the belief that every soul deserves to be remembered, and every story, no matter how haunting, holds a piece of humanity's collective memory. Whenever I think back to that night in the echo chamber, I'm reminded of the power of empathy and the importance of remembrance. The whispers of the catacombs continue to echo in my mind, guiding me to tell stories that might otherwise fade into obscurity. In honoring the lost explorers and the countless souls within the catacombs, I found not only a sense of purpose, but also a deeper connection to the world around me. The Paris catacombs remain a place where history and mystery coexist, their silent corridors holding the stories of those who came before us. Every visit, every exploration, is a journey into the depths of human experience, a testament to the resilience of the spirit, and a reminder that some echoes, no matter how faint, are powerful enough to transcend the boundaries of life and death. In the end, my stay in the catacombs was more than just an exploration of the macabre. It was a journey of empathy and understanding, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and a reminder that some places hold memories too powerful to be forgotten. By giving these lost souls a voice, I not only honored their memories, but also found a deeper connection to my own humanity, ensuring that their suffering was never in vain. Whenever I sit down to write, I think back to those silent nights beneath Paris, the whispers of the past guiding my pen, reminding me that some stories are worth telling, no matter how haunting they may be. Story number 5. Whispers Beneath the Waves. I've always been fascinated by the mysteries that lie beneath the ocean's surface, the secrets that the deep blue conceals from the world above. So when the opportunity arose to join the Atlantis expedition in the Bermuda Triangle during the early 1960s, I couldn't resist. As a young marine biologist with a passion for exploration, the chance to search for the fabled city of Atlantis was both thrilling and daunting. The Bermuda Triangle, a region infamous for its inexplicable disappearances of ships and aircraft, had long been a subject of intrigue and fear. The Atlantis expedition aimed to uncover the truth behind these legends, using cutting-edge technology and a team of experienced divers to explore the uncharted depths. Little did I know, the expedition would plunge me into a nightmare far beyond my wildest fears. Our journey began on a crisp April morning, the sun casting a golden glow over the vast expanse of the Atlantic. The research vessel, Neptune's Grace, was a state-of-the-art vessel equipped with advanced sonar systems, underwater drones, and reinforced diving suits. Captain Harold Matthews, a seasoned explorer with decades of experience in the Bermuda waters, led our team. His stern demeanor and unwavering focus inspired confidence among the crew. As we approached the designated search area, the waters grew eerily calm, the usual chatter of marine life subdued as if the sea itself was holding its breath. The first few days were uneventful, filled with meticulous scanning and data collection. We set up our base near a known shipwreck site, using it as a reference point for our deeper explorations. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, the atmosphere aboard Neptune's Grace shifted. The air grew thick with an inexplicable tension, the crew exchanging uneasy glances. It was during this twilight hour that our sonar picked up something unusual, an anomaly beneath the waves, a structure unlike anything we had documented before. Excitement surged through the team as we prepared to investigate. Equipped with our underwater drones and reinforced suits, a small group of divers, including myself, descended into the depths. The water was frigid, the pressure immense as we navigated through the darkness. The only light came from our headlamps, piercing the inky blackness surrounding us. As we approached the anomaly, the shape of a grand, sprawling city began to materialize before our eyes. Majestic towers, intricate archways, and expansive plazas lay before us, all seemingly untouched by time. The discovery of Atlantis was within our grasp, a triumph of human curiosity and determination. But as we ventured further into the submerged metropolis, an unsettling feeling began to creep over me. The water around us felt heavy, charged with an energy that was both captivating and foreboding. Shadows danced along the walls of the ancient structures, and a faint, otherworldly light emanated from within, casting eerie glows on the submerged stone. It was then that we heard them, the whispers. Soft at first, like the distant murmur of a crowd, but gradually growing louder and more distinct. The voices seemed to come from all directions, speaking in a language I couldn't comprehend. Goosebumps prickled my skin as the whispers turned into plaintive cries, echoing through the deserted streets of Atlantis. "We must be remembered," the voices seemed to say, their tones filled with sorrow and desperation. The realization hit me like a tidal wave. These were the spirits of those who had built and once inhabited this lost city, now trapped in eternal limbo, yearning for remembrance and peace. Panic began to set in as the temperature around us dropped sharply, my breath visible in the frigid water. The shadows that had seemed benign now took on sinister forms, looming menacingly as if guarding the secrets of Atlantis. Suddenly, one of my fellow divers, Dr. Emily Hart, let out a blood-curdling scream. I turned to see her being pulled towards the ancient structures by an unseen force, her hand reaching out desperately for me. "Help me," she cried, her voice muffled by the water. I reached out, but my hand passed through her as if she were made of mist. The water around me became a vortex of shadows and whispers, the voices growing louder and more insistent. The feeling of being watched intensified, an invisible presence pressing in on all sides. Desperate to escape, I turned to swim back, but the path seemed to stretch endlessly, the structures of Atlantis blocking my way. The whispers turned into agonized screams, the voices pleading and angry, their emotions overwhelming. My heart pounded in my chest as the oppressive atmosphere threatened to crush me. Just when I thought I couldn't endure any longer, a surge of determination washed over me. I focused on finding my way back, ignoring the haunting cries that sought to entangle me in their sorrow. With every ounce of strength, I pushed against the current of fear, navigating through the labyrinthine streets of the ancient city. Finally, I broke free from the clutches of Atlantis, the water growing warmer and the whispers fading into silence. Gasping for breath, I surfaced and swam back to Neptune's grace, my body trembling from the ordeal. As I climbed aboard, Captain Matthews and the remaining crew members rushed to my side, their faces etched with concern and disbelief. "Are you all right?" Captain Matthews demanded, his voice laced with worry. I nodded weakly, unable to find the words to describe what I had experienced. The crew gathered around, sharing their own accounts of the strange phenomena we had encountered. It was clear that Atlantis held more than just historical significance. It was a place of profound mystery and restless spirits, a testament to the enduring power of memory and the human spirit's yearning for recognition. In the days that followed, we documented our findings with a newfound reverence, ensuring that the story of Atlantis was told with the respect it deserved. The expedition was hailed as one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the century, but the true legacy lay in the voices that had echoed through the depths, reminding us of the importance of remembrance and the thin line between life and death. Whenever I sit down to write, I think back to those haunting whispers beneath the waves, the shadows that guarded Atlantis, and the spirits that yearned to be remembered. The experience taught me that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, but rather honored, their stories woven into the fabric of history to ensure that they never fade into oblivion. In the end, the Atlantis expedition was more than just a scientific endeavor. It was a journey of empathy and understanding, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and a reminder that some places hold memories too powerful to be forgotten. By giving these lost souls a voice, I not only honored their memories, but also found a deeper connection to my own humanity, ensuring that their suffering was never in vain. Whenever I glance out at the endless expanse of the ocean, I feel a lingering presence, a whisper on the wind, a shadow on the horizon, reminding me that some echoes, no matter how faint, are powerful enough to transcend the boundaries of life and death. Story number 6. Shadows of Franklin. I've always been fascinated by the unforgiving embrace of the Arctic, where nature's raw power meets human ambition. So when I heard about the Franklin expedition and the haunting tales surrounding the ghost ships Erebus and Terror, my curiosity was ignited. As a writer struggling with a persistent creative block, I saw this as the perfect opportunity to delve into one of history's most enduring mysteries. Little did I know, the Arctic would not only rekindle my inspiration but also drag me into a nightmare from which there might be no escape. Arriving in the small, isolated town of Resolute Bay, I felt the weight of isolation pressing down on me. The town, perched on the edge of the frozen expanse, seemed untouched by time. Snow-covered cabins dotted the landscape, their windows glowing faintly against the endless white. The locals, a hardy group of fishermen and researchers, eyed me with a mix of curiosity and caution. They spoke little of the Franklin expedition, but their eyes betrayed the fear and respect they held for the Arctic's unforgiving nature. My guide for this expedition was Captain Ingrid Larson, a seasoned mariner with decades of experience navigating the treacherous waters of the North. Her face was weathered, eyes sharp and piercing, reflecting the harshness of the environment she knew so well. The Arctic doesn't forgive easily, she warned as we boarded the icebreaker that would take us closer to the wreckage of Erebus and Terror. Her voice was steady, but there was an underlying tension that set me on edge. As we sailed deeper into the icy waters, the landscape transformed into a monochromatic nightmare of white and gray. The endless expanse of icebergs loomed ominously, their jagged peaks piercing the sky like the teeth of some colossal beast. The air was frigid, each breath a visible puff of vapor that quickly dissipated into the nothingness. The silence was absolute, broken only by the mechanical hum of the ship's engines and the occasional crack of shifting ice. After days of relentless searching, we finally reached the coordinates believed to be the resting place of Erebus and Terror. The wreckage lay entombed beneath a thick blanket of ice, a haunting reminder of the expedition's tragic end. As we prepared to dive, Captain Larson shared the chilling details of the discovery. They found evidence of cannibalism, she said softly, her eyes distant. Bones that show signs of extreme stress, fractures that couldn't have been caused by the cold alone. It's as if they turned on each other in their final moments. Equipped with the latest diving technology, I descended into the icy abyss, the weight of history pressing down on me. The water was frigid, each movement slow and laborious. As I approached the wreckage, the silence deepened, the only sounds my own labored breathing and the distant groan of the ice. The remains of the ships were eerily intact, preserved by the cold that has kept their secrets hidden for over a century. Exploring the site, I felt an inexplicable presence, a heavy sorrow that seemed to permeate the water around me. It was as if the spirits of the lost sailors were still trapped, their restless souls unable to find peace. I reached out to touch a piece of the hull, the metal cold and unforgiving against my skin. Suddenly, a shadow darted across my field of vision, too swift and indistinct to be a natural occurrence. My heart raced as I turned, but there was nothing, only the endless expanse of ice and water. Panic set in as I realized I wasn't alone. The whispers began then, faint at first, like the distant echo of voices carried by the wind. They grew louder, forming incoherent murmurs that sent chills down my spine. "Remember us," the voices seemed to say, their tones filled with desperation and anguish. I tried to rationalize, attributing it to the eerie acoustics of the underwater environment, but the feeling of being watched was undeniable. Captain Larson's voice crackled through my communication device, her concern palpable. "Are you all right down there?" Yes, just some strange noises," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. But the whispers persisted, growing into mournful cries that seemed to emanate from all around me. Shadows moved in the periphery of my vision, dark figures flitting between the wreckage with unnatural grace. My breaths came in short, panicked gasps as I struggled to maintain control. Desperate to escape, I began my ascent, the pressure building as I broke through the ice to the surface. The cold air hit me like a physical force, and I gasped for breath, my heart pounding in my chest. As I pulled myself out of the water, the voices faded, replaced by an oppressive silence that seemed to weigh heavily on my shoulders. Captain Larson rushed to my side, her expression a mix of relief and concern. "What happened?" she demanded, her eyes searching mine for answers. I felt like they were trying to communicate, I stammered, the memory of the whispers still fresh in my mind. "The spirits of the lost sailors." She sighed, shaking her head. "The Arctic is a harsh mistress. Maybe it's just the wind playing tricks on your mind." But I knew better. The Arctic held more secrets than just the remnants of the Franklin expedition. As we sailed back to Resolute Bay, the haunting whispers lingered in my thoughts, a constant reminder of the tragedy that had unfolded beneath the ice. Back in the warmth of the town, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Nights were plagued with nightmares of the lost sailors, their faces etched with sorrow and desperation. The whispers returned, now a constant presence in my waking hours, urging me to remember and share their stories. It was as if their spirits were bound to me, seeking closure and remembrance. Determined to honor their memory, I delved deeper into the history of the Franklin expedition, uncovering accounts of the harsh conditions, the internal conflicts, and the mysterious phenomena that plagued the crew. The more I learned, the more I felt a connection to the lost souls, their pain resonating with my own struggles and fears. One evening, as I sat in my study surrounded by maps and old journals, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. "Remember us," they echoed, their voices a haunting melody that filled the room. I reached out, feeling an invisible force pressing against me, the temperature dropping once again. The lights flickered, casting long, eerie shadows that danced along the walls. A figure materialized before me, his face pale and gaunt, eyes hollow with sorrow. "You must remember our stories," he pleaded, his voice a mere whisper. "So we may find peace." Tears welled in my eyes as I nodded, understanding the depth of their anguish. "I will," I vowed, my voice trembling. "I promise to tell your stories." The figure smiled faintly, a gesture of gratitude before fading into the shadows. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by a profound sense of peace. The whispers subsided, leaving behind a serene silence that filled the room with tranquility. Months later, my book, Shadows of Franklin, was published, shedding light on the tragic fate of the Franklin expedition and the haunting presence that still lingers in the Arctic. Readers were moved by the raw emotion and the meticulous research, many expressing a newfound respect for the lost souls of Erebus and Terror. The book not only captivated audiences, but also sparked conversations about the importance of remembering and honoring those who had suffered in silence. The Franklin expedition remains a symbol of human ambition and the unforgiving power of nature. Its legacy is now intertwined with the stories of the spirits who once navigated the icy waters, their whispers a reminder of the lives lost and the mysteries that still elude understanding. Whenever I think back to those nights in Resolute Bay, I'm reminded of the thin line between life and death and the enduring power of memory. In the end, my journey to the Arctic was more than just an investigation. It was a voyage of empathy and understanding, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and a reminder that some places hold memories too powerful to be forgotten. By giving these lost souls a voice, I not only honored their memories, but also found a deeper connection to my own humanity, ensuring that their suffering was never in vain. Whenever I sit down to write, I think back to those silent nights in the Arctic, the whispers of the past guiding my pen, reminding me that some stories are worth telling, no matter how haunting they may be. Story number 7. Whispers of Dyatlov Pass. I've always been drawn to the enigmatic and the unexplained, the places where nature's fury intertwines with human vulnerability. So when I stumbled upon the haunting tales of the Dyatlov Pass incident, my curiosity ignited like a spark in dry tinder. As a true crime enthusiast and an aspiring writer, the mysterious deaths of 9 experienced hikers in the Ural Mountains of Russia in 1959 offered a perfect blend of intrigue and tragedy. Determined to uncover the truth behind the whispers and theories, I embarked on a journey that would forever change my perception of the unknown. Arriving in the small town of Verkhoyansk, the closest settlement to the infamous Dyatlov Pass, I felt an immediate sense of foreboding. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and the biting chill of the approaching winter. The locals eyed me with a mixture of pity and wariness, their conversations hushed as if the mountains themselves demanded silence. I checked into a modest inn, the walls adorned with photographs of the lost hikers, Yuri Doroshenko, Yuri Krivonogov, Ludmila Dubinina, Alexander Kolevatov, Rustam Slobodin, Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kalmogorova, Nikolai Thibault-Brignalit, and Semyon Zolotaryov. The following morning, armed with maps, old newspaper clippings, and a notebook, I set out to trace the steps of the ill-fated expedition. The path to Dyatlov Pass was rugged, flanked by towering pines and jagged peaks that seemed to pierce the heavens. As I trekked deeper into the wilderness, the landscape grew more desolate, the silence broken only by the crunch of my boots on the frost-covered ground. Reaching the pass, I stood before the remains of the hiker's tent, a haunting relic of their last night alive. The tent was still partially intact, the fabric torn and frayed as if ripped by unseen forces. My flashlight cast eerie shadows, highlighting the chaotic aftermath, scarves strewn about, backpacks discarded, and a sense of desperation etched into every corner. I sat down, absorbing the gravity of their ordeal. The official investigation had concluded that the hikers died due to a compelling natural force, but the vagueness left room for countless theories: animal attacks, avalanches, military involvement, and even extraterrestrial encounters. Determined to sift through the myths and facts, I delved into interviews with local historians and surviving relatives of the hikers. One evening, as twilight descended upon the pass, I decided to camp near the tent, hoping to connect with the spirits that some locals believed still roamed the area. As darkness enveloped the mountains, the temperature plummeted, and an oppressive stillness settled around me. I wrapped myself in a thick blanket, the pages of my notebook fluttering in the cold breeze. Around midnight, the silence was shattered by faint whispers carried on the wind. At first, I dismissed them as my imagination, but the whispers grew louder, forming indistinct words that sent chills down my spine. "Remember us," they seemed to say, their tone filled with sorrow and longing. I sat up, heart pounding, as the whispers turned into mournful cries. The flashlight flickered, casting erratic beams of light that danced across the snow-covered ground. Out of the corner of my eye, I glimpsed a shadowy figure standing at the edge of my camp. It was a man, his form indistinct and ethereal, eyes hollow with despair. "Why can't you remember us?" the apparition whispered, his voice echoing through the cold night. "Our stories must be told." Tears welled in my eyes as I realized the depth of their anguish. These spirits were trapped, their lives cut short by an unforgiving natural force, unable to find peace in death. Determined to honor their memories, I vowed to uncover the truth and ensure their stories were not forgotten. The next day, I returned to the tent with renewed purpose. As I examined the site, I noticed something I hadn't seen before: a series of cryptic markings etched into the snow, leading deeper into the mountains. Following the trail, I found myself at the entrance of a narrow crevasse, its darkness swallowing the light of day. Gathering my courage, I entered the crevasse, the walls closing in around me. The air was thick with the scent of earth and ice, each step echoing ominously in the confined space. The whispers guided me forward, their voices intertwining with the sounds of dripping water and shifting rocks. At the end of the crevasse, I discovered a hidden chamber, its walls adorned with strange symbols and remnants of the hikers' belongings. It felt like a shrine, a testament to their final moments. In the center stood a makeshift altar, the flickering light of my flashlight revealing candles melted into pools of wax and scattered trinkets that once held personal significance. As I approached the altar, the temperature dropped further, and the whispers intensified, now forming clear sentences. "Help us find peace," they implored. "Bring our stories to the world." I sat down, pulling out my notebook, and began to transcribe their pleas. The chamber seemed to pulse with energy, the presence of the spirits enveloping me in a cocoon of sorrow and hope. It was as if the mountains themselves were urging me to remember and share the truth of their untimely demise. Days turned into weeks as I continued my investigation, each discovery adding layers to the mystery. Advanced forensic reports suggested that the hikers had experienced a sudden and extreme event, perhaps a snow slab avalanche or a violent infrasound-induced panic attack. Yet, the lack of definitive evidence left the case shrouded in uncertainty, fueling the legends and supernatural theories that surrounded Dyatlov Pass. One night, during a particularly harsh storm, I returned to the hidden chamber. The wind howled through the crevasse, and the storm's fury mirrored the turmoil within me. As I sat at the altar, the spirits' whispers became a harmonious chorus, their voices blending into a song of remembrance and closure. "Thank you for remembering us," they sang, their tones softening. "Our stories will live on." A sense of peace settled over the chamber, the oppressive atmosphere lifting as the spirits began to fade. The blue flames of the candles flickered one last time before extinguishing, leaving me in the tranquil silence of the mountains. Leaving Dyatlov Pass, I felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The spirits had found the closure they sought, and their stories were now etched into my heart and my writing. My journey to uncover the truth behind the Dyatlov Pass incident was more than just an investigation. It was a tribute to the lives lost and a testament to the enduring power of memory. Months later, my book, Whispers of Dyatlov Pass, was published, shedding light on the tragic events and the haunting presence that still lingered in the mountains. Readers were moved by the raw emotion and the meticulous research, many expressing a newfound respect for the hikers and the mysteries that remained unsolved. The Dyatlov Pass remains a place where history and mystery coexist, its winds carrying the whispers of those who once traversed its treacherous paths. Whenever I think back to those nights in the mountains, I'm reminded of the fragile line between life and death and the importance of remembering those who have been lost to time. In the end, my journey to Dyatlov Pass was a voyage of empathy and understanding, a reminder that some places hold memories too powerful to be forgotten. By giving these lost souls a voice, I not only honored their memories, but also found a deeper connection to my own humanity, ensuring that their suffering was never in vain. Whenever I sit down to write, I think back to those silent nights in the Ural Mountains, the whispers of the past guiding my pen, reminding me that some stories are worth telling, no matter how haunting they may be.